Hey, how's everybody doing this morning? Hey, it's a brisk old morning out there in southeast Kansas today, and I kind of got my truck here before we get started for the wind won't interrupt us on this video. But I want to do something today. Hey, I'm going to smoke some meat the old-fashioned way. You know, the old timers always said if you're going to smoke meat, do it right. So I'm going to show you today how I do it. I got a big old smoker. I'm going to add some water to the smoker. I'm going to get the cherry wood going, but right now I'm headed out to cut a little bit of cherry that I've had in a stockpile, and we're going to cut her up in lengths, and we're going to get right after it and get the fire going good and get the old temperature about right, and I'll show you that. And so anyway, come and go with me, and we're going to smoke meat today. Okay, all you got to do is add water. That keeps the meat real tender. I put it up to about the bottom of the firebox where the heat comes in, and the smoke boils over the top of the water. Okay, I kind of cheat a little bit the more modern way, like a lot of people do, but I ain't got time for the fire to get started this morning, so I'm going to add some instant charcoal starter, or charcoal bricks, and we're going to put the wood on there and get it started good, but I'm going to wait till these kind of burn off a little bit for the taste of the wood when it gets started smoking. I'll wait till these burn down good and then add more wood. So we're going to get the fire started. The old pig right there. Okay, now I want you to notice something. I use wild cherry right here, and that's the natural way right here. You can use apple wood. I've used pecan before on beef, but usually when I'm smoking pork or chicken, I use a cherry wood. So we're getting her started now, but like I say, I'll let the charcoal bricks burn off pretty good before I actually even put the meat on, and the wood will get a good smoke going. Okay, we're about to reach that heat that I use. I usually smoke my meat at about 190 to 210. You know, a lot of people get in too big of a hurry and they use these old big smokers for an oven. But you know, I got time on the weekend here, so I've got all day. So I'm going to put some meat on here in a minute, but I'm almost ready. I'm going to let that get up to about 200 degrees, and my charcoal briskets are almost burnt down, and the wood started really good, and I'm starting to really get a good smoke up here coming out. And notice this right here, it's starting to drip a little bit. The moisture's the heat's starting to build, so the moisture's coming out, and that's what we want for our meat to be good and tender. Okay, gonna cook a couple chickens today. Got to cook a couple of pork loins, a couple of chickens. Okay, I got my temperature reached where I want it. I'm going to take and place them in there, but what I always do, I always put the breast down. And I'm going to go cook about a quarter of the way from the firebox up, because the chicken takes a long time to cook to get that right temperature before it's safe to eat. Okay, I'm placing my loins in there. I got 2 loins. I'll turn them sideways about the middle of the box. Alright, we're going to shut the lid, get the fire built back up because the heat went down a little bit with the door open, and we're going to cook meat. Okay, it's been about probably 10 minutes ago. I put all the meat on there. I got my temperature back up to where I want it right there. I'm going to let it idle around 200 degrees today. This side down here, always the far side stays a little bit cooler, so it's about 180 degrees. But I've used this smoker for quite a while. I've smoked a lot of meat on it. Had to rebuild my firebox down there, kind of rusted out the bottom. But I want you to notice something. You know, your equipment, you got to know your equipment. So there's my draft door right here, and I know about where to set it at to regulate that heat about 200 degrees. So we're going to let that thing set today, and we're going to keep feeding wood to it off and on. About every hour I'll check the wood. But the most important thing is, you know, when you're smoking meat, the old way is to take and know your equipment, know how long it takes, use water, and use good fruit wood. And here's another important thing about when you're regulating your heat. You've got to have a good draft. Now you notice my draft's on top here. Some of them, you know, they have them inside the pipe here, like a fireplace or whatever. I always use mine on top. That way I know where it's at. I can easily move it. I've got a spring on the other side here and a lever, so works really good. And like I said, just know your equipment, know kind of, you know, play with it and have a good memory on where to kind of set things, you know, when you go to smoke meat. So we're going to let her cook today, and we'll be back later today. Okay, it's been about 6 hours since I put this meat on. Let's open the lid and see what we got. Woo, look at that! Look at that! Oh, they're falling apart. Loins need just a little bit longer. Okay, I've given them loins just a few minutes, so we're going to take them loins off now. I believe they're done and ready to go. And I snuck some baby back ribs in on to go too, so I'm going to eat them for supper after a bit.
Wait a minute.
Them's almost cooked to perfection right there. Okay, so we got our chickens cooked today, we got our pork loins cooked today, and I still got a rack of ribs in there, and they're just finishing up. About 10 minutes later we'll be pulling them off. So people's going to ask me, what do I use? Well, that right there, this ain't no store-bought smoker, you know. We built this. This is a 500-gallon water tank, and of course I made it look like a pig on the front. I got my vent stack up there, and I showed you earlier in the video how I control my draft. It's on stands, so when you design this, or when you put this together, you want to be about 8 inches from the bottom of the tank to have a hole where your fire comes in. So in other words, you fill the bottom of that tank with water, and then the fire and smoke comes up through the hole right there in this slot back here. You can see where it's all joined together, and then the fire rolls across the smoke and cooks that meat a lot better. So anyway, this is the firebox right here. You got the firebox on the back, and it's about to die off for the day, but let me show you the hole where it goes into the tank. Actually goes into the tank back here. It's right there. So see, I only got about probably 4 inches of water in the thing when we're done, you know, when it's full and ready to go. So anyway, that's kind of what my smoker looks like. It's not a store-bought. We made it myself. I designed it myself. I've got an oven up on top. I even baked a cake in this one time. It's not the fanciest door, kind of made with a bunch of scrap metal, but I'm going to open the door up here if I can with the camera. And there's the oven right there. Let's see what the temperature says right here in this oven. It's almost 250 degrees in that oven. So I baked a lot of stuff in that oven, and like I say, this smoker ain't the fanciest thing in the world, but I've used it a lot and it works for me. So there you have it. Hey, we pulled the ribs off right there. That's what she looks like right there. We're gonna have them for supper after a bit.
Go.
Okay, we got the chicken done, man. It is good stuff. Good and tender and moist. Anyway, we're going to get into the loins after a bit. We got a slice of loins. We got a little party we're catering for, so that's the only way to do it. Smoke, water, and fruit wood.